Thank you very much. Let me just give us a snapshot. I know many of you know a little bit about Lukenya Community Church. I'm going to be introducing our guest, Pastor Ambrose and Pastor Muredi. Those are, we've walked a long way as well. Tangu siku zetu za Kenya Science Teachers College. Mpaka wa leo. Nilikuwa vijana. And Jero, don't talk about hair. It is not fair. It's not fair. It was Isaac Newton, that great scientist of the 17th century, who once said, "If I have been able to see further than others, it's because I stood on the shoulders of giants." Today, as we dedicate this new sanctuary for God's service, I also celebrate those who came before us and obeyed the call of God to set up and register. By the way, we are not affiliated to any church. We are a registered non-denominational church in the heart of Lukenya Community, basically to serve not just the spiritual, but also the economic and social needs of this community. It's always appropriate to revisit our past, because from the failures of the past, we learn what not to do, and from the successes, we get courage to forge ahead. Lukenya Community Church has had its fair share of both failures and successes. And so I'm going to just highlight a few of those. I've not always been a member of Lukenya Community Church, but I had a very early connection to Lukenya Community Church through the invitation of friends. Just like a number of you were invited by us, I was invited by friends to this church several years ago. Little did I know then that our paths would cross or merge. So in 2018, almost kicking and screaming, God led me and my wife Helen to take up the pastoral leadership at LCC. And it's been a journey. LCC started as a neighborhood Bible study group in 2008 by several families from the Lukenya village. And at this point, I would like to mention one such family that was in that initial initiative. That was the Doritos. I don't know, can just wave? Yes. They were there in the formative years, and we have remained friends. They don't fellowship here that much, but we have remained friends. And you may want to know that when we started thinking about greater space, we consulted many people, but Brother Nerito is an architect. So we invited him to tea at the Getaway. And he sat down and he looked at us and he saw our confusion. You know, the way engineers look at you like, "Are you sure?" So he told us, "You know, guys, forget about stone. Just do canvas. The resources you have will not be able to do any stonework. That will get you anyway." And Brother Nerito, I'm so glad we consulted you. After that, we didn't go anywhere else. This is what we got here. So thank you so much for your direction. So, he was in those very starting stages, the families that started talking. Unfortunately, no one in the initial talks was familiar with how to begin the process of planting a church, as no one had done that before. So the discussions expanded to Daystar University and Lukenya Getaway Resort, and on the 25th of April 2010, an interim committee of 5 was appointed to pursue the registration of a community church. And so, Lukenya Community Church was born. On the 27th of June 2010, LCC appointed its first 2 pastors, and on the 6th of August 2010, application documents for a community church was lodged at the Registrar of Societies at Sheria House, Nairobi. And the Parklands team will remember At that time, the registrar, or one of the key people at the registrar's office was Banis Keshegu. And so those documents landed at Banis's desk. And so we got our registration. So there are a lot of connections that God was already making for the registration of LCC. Our first formal service was held on the 6th of January 2011 at the home of Dr. John Maso, who lived at Lukenya village. And on the 24th of June 2011, the Lukenya Community Church was officially registered under the certificate number 345342. The Lukenya Getaway at that time loaned us this half an acre to begin our work there. We later paid for it. So this space here belongs officially to Lukenya Community Church, and the title is in our name. So no one can tunya us. We will continue to just grow and do ministry here. Finally, on the Sunday, 25th of September 2011, slightly over 10 years ago, LCC moved into the tent that has now been replaced by this one, and some of you were able to sit in that tent. That's where we've been worshiping all this time until last Sunday. It used to be here, and we moved it there in order to set up this particular tent in the right place, Reverend Otieno, so that the altar is facing the right way. We didn't want to disappoint you. So the official launch and dedication of Lukenya Community Church occurred on the 13th of November 2011, so just slightly less than 10 years ago. And 200 people attended it at the time. So today, the church has been served by 3 pastors. Pastor Andrew Jama from 2011 to 2014, Pastor Phyllis Doro Maina from 2014 to 2017, and Pastor Omeno Suji from 2018 to date. I always say that it's not always fair to say it's Pastor Suji, because we serve here with Pastor Helen, although she doesn't hold that title. So she's almost my co-worker. The church doesn't know that, but she does most of the work, most of the thinking in the background. So I want to thank her as well for being my wife and being a co-worker with me. While we honor the men and women who had the vision to set up LCC those 10 years ago, I would also like to thank most sincerely those who have worked side by side with us in the last 3 years. One of the things that LCC believes in is that we are a member-driven church. And sometimes that confuses people. In most churches, the pastor's word is law. But here, sometimes even our members keep asking me, Pastor unasemaje? And I tell them, you are the leaders. You tell me what to do. Then I'll do it. And sometimes some of them come in a little confused with that. But we hold to that because of the various mistakes that happen when you put the pastor at the center of the church. It creates a number of complications. So we are a member-driven church, and so we have 2 bodies that mostly, actually 3. There's the Board of Trustees, and the Council of Elders, and then the Pastoral Department. So the pastoral team and department runs with the teaching and discipleship and preaching and all that. The Council of Elders runs with the administrative staff. They will do the tenders, they will sign contracts with Rita, they'll do all manner of things on that side so that the pastor does not have to get involved with that. Then the trustees own everything here on our behalf. It's a very simple job for them. So once it's done, like today, we'll hand over this to the chair of the trustees, and he will just say, thank you very much, now I have a sanctuary. So that's how we structured the leadership of LCC. When we came in to serve here in 2018, we had a number of challenges. And it is at that point that we thought, let's begin to expand the space for worship. One, our children did not have any place to sit and do their Sunday school classes. We used to have a little shed out here, a tent, that one day was blown off by the wind and almost landed off our property. The kids were under there. And we said, that cannot continue. We must do something. The church was not connected to electricity. So whenever we came for service in the morning, we would, one of us who are lucky to have a car would open the bonnet and we connect to the battery of the car and we hope that we don't drain it before the service is over. So that is how we got the PA going. The green tent we met here, and those of you who are here for our dedication will remember, did not have a floor. And that was tough. All my life, he has been faithful. We sang that earlier. Most of my life, I've gone to churches where there's a bit of order. I mean, we served at Paki, Ojiji Road. We moved to our 10 acres in Westlands. I moved to Mavuno. The church had a floor. Now, when somebody takes you to a place where there's dust, one time I really had a hard conversation with God. But I told him, God, I actually now believe that the streets of heaven are paved in gold. Because I was walking on Cabro in Nairobi, walking. But here, we could not afford a Cabro floor. We were kneeling on dust. It was not easy starting out, but we said we'll soldier on. We'll soldier on, and with that model of member-driven, we decided to challenge our members. So we immediately got a number of priorities that we needed to do. So we asked, what do we do first? The members said, first of all, let's get some space for the children. So we went around to a few friends. Those friends gave us some money. We expanded. The team had, some of you saw just behind there, the maroon building. So kids could have some place to sit. Then they told us, we asked them, what next? They said, the next thing is we want electricity here. Now KPLC had given the leadership before us a quote of about 3 million shillings to connect here because they wanted us to buy a transformer for the community. And we said, that's not going to work. Can we talk different terms? So we approached them again and they said, yes, we'll connect you from this other end instead of waiting for that other end. So with 75,000 shillings that we were able to raise, we connected this property to electricity. So now, life started coming. So whether the car was there or not, we could have our services. The third thing, there were enough people who were upset with that dusty floor. So they told me, whatever you do, please make sure that we do this floor, at least put something on it, some concrete. So we decided not to koroga, we decided to put slabs. So within a short time, we were able to put slabs there. The lights were up, the floor was now done, we were not kneeling on dust, and we were progressing very well. However, that was 2018, 2019. Then of course, all of us know what happened in 2020. There was a shutdown, pretty much. I mean, COVID, and everyone was locked away from church. Occasionally you'd come, a lot of the time you would not come. But around that time, we started talking about, how about if we expanded our area of ministry? I mean, just get some more land. And so we reached out to some friends. 2 churches responded to our request. We sent out a lot. You know, one of the things about independence is that it comes with authority, you can make your own decisions on the one hand. But on the other hand, you are like an orphaned child. Really, you don't have a mother. No one really cares for you. So you reach out there and hope that somebody will respond. And so we reached out to a number of churches. Thankfully, 2 responded. And one of those 2 was Lukenya Covenant Community Church. Lukenya Community 1,000 shillings here. A few months later, Parklands Baptist Church responded to our request. And they told me, please give us your account number. You know when somebody tells you to give them your account number, you feel like, okay, they must be thinking about me. So a week later, our treasurer goes to check the balance, and our account, you know, a small church, hata mkipata 40,000 kwa hiyo account, you are very lucky. So the treasurer comes back and says, hey, kitu imefanyika kwa hiyo bank. So Parklands had actually transferred to our account 2 million shillings. Now, we had money, but we didn't have money. Because the offer we had put on that land was, give it to us, we'll pay you in bits. The guy said, it is 7 million Kenya shillings or nothing. So we have 2 million. It's enough, but not enough to expand the land. So the leadership sat and said, you know, this is not adequate. How about we put this money away, let it earn something for us while we think what to do. So the year passed, 2019 passed, 2020 we were still there. We got a few more shillings from the interest that we got where we put it. But somehow, it wasn't coming to the 7 million that we wanted. So in November 2019, the members made the decision to get a more spacious, decent space for worship. Then in March 2020, of course, COVID struck and we didn't have much to do. We went into limbo. The leadership continued to consult on how we could achieve the goal of a bigger worship space, and that's how come we ended up at Brother Derito's door, asking, how do we do this? So at our general meeting in February 2021, the members agreed that we would settle for a tent. In the midst of incessant lockdowns and rationed attendance, we chose a team that embarked on the task of advertising, shortlisting, identifying supplier for the tent. And in June 2021, we awarded the contract for construction to Myla Consultancy Limited, who had to import most of the material, and the output is what we have here. When we started on this tent project, the Lord gave me this promise in Isaiah 54, verses 2 to 4, and somebody mentioned it earlier. It says, enlarge the space of your tent. Stretch out your tent curtains wider. Do not hold back. Lengthen your cords. Strengthen your stakes. For you will spread out to the right and to the left. Your descendants will dispossess nations and settle in their desolate cities. Do not be afraid. You will not suffer shame. Do not fear disgrace. You will not be humiliated. You will forget the shame of your youth and remember no more the reproach of your widowhood. I was soon to learn that this scripture did not only refer to the physical tent and worship space, but to just about every area of ministry in Lukenya Community. Our worship, our children's and family marriage programs, our outreach and discipleship programs needed to be relooked at. And so we started to work. Lukenya Community is at the confluence of a growth of 3 cities. There's Konza, there's Machakos, and then there's Nairobi. And we are an urban middle-class community with the many industries in the vicinity. The demand for residential housing is already growing, and we are sure that in a few years, this place will be teeming with families. And the Lord sent us here 10 years ago to prepare for those people who are coming. We know the plans of that other kingdom of darkness. It continues declaring to our young people that God has failed and New Age is the in thing. So you do yoga, find a good job, grow economically, you're the cutting edge of technology and you don't need anything else, not even God. Now that kingdom is telling our young people that marriage, as we know it, has failed as well, and you don't need it. So get into some ungodly sexual relationship, men with other men, women with other women, and you'll be with it. Now LCC intends to stand against this philosophy, holding forth the word of life and the word of truth, and pointing young people and young families to the truth of God's word in creating godly connections. We believe that the church of the 21st century will not be an information church. People are over-informed. Where information lacks, Google is their friend. We believe the church of the 21st century will be a church of transformation. Transformation that comes from making meaningful connections with God and God's people and the cause of the gospel. Then the family, with the communities where we live and work, starting at home. So when we got that vision, we decided, let's get to work. And I got a lesson from our second-born daughter. Our second-born daughter, Howie, she's normally known at home as number 2. She's a culinary artist. You ask me what that is. I tell you, I also don't know, but don't worry. Even some of her relatives cannot pronounce the word, leave alone understand what it is. She graduates next month from Boma International Hospitality College. But culinary artists are the people who sit down and whip up a gourmet meal for important people like Bill Gates. Najua watu kama hao. Occasionally at our house, we pretend to be important people and get the very rare privilege of a meal made by her. Now, when Howie gets into the kitchen and starts preparing ingredients, you either have to leave the house or keep the kitchen door shut. You know why? She'll be burning things that irritate your eyes. She'll be grinding others and blending others, boiling the rest. It's a complete pandemonium. But if you chance to walk into that kitchen at that time, you'll find her so calm, humming away at some cool Christian music in the background. And you wonder, how can she survive in this mess? Well, an hour later, you will taste the magic of her work and appreciate her. Gentlemen and ladies, they say, ukiona vinaelea, vimeundwa. Everything good takes great effort, resources, and patience. At the start of 2021, we as leaders of LCC developed a vision of putting together a transformational gourmet dish for the Lukenya community. The past 9 months have involved mixing, roasting, boiling, grinding, a lot of ingredients for the work of God. And just like happens in our house, when Harry goes in there, some of our members could not stand the noise and the choking smells and the kitchen, so they stepped out to get some fresh air. We know they'll come back and the gourmet meal is ready. But some have been in the thick of things, mixing all those things. And the gourmet meal is beginning to emerge now, bit by bit. And this stage is just one of the many things the Lord God is doing with us. The second part of the meal that is still in the oven and which we will be unveiling soon is our Vision 2030 for LCC and Lukenya Community. Our strategy team is working on that very, very hard. It will include a number of things. We will engage in all community programs geared towards transformation, such as Daystar University's Stand Tall and Excel for the young men, among others. Right here at LCC, we have our own enterprise program called Mialoni ya Haki, Oaks of Righteousness, that support business people and professionals among us with interest-free loans, business training, mentorship, and hand-holding. We also have the Junction for Children, which strengthens them in the hand, heart, and head, in the spirit of training a child in the way they should go. At congregation level, we have two programs that God has continued to lay in our hearts, that is member support and discipleship through what we call here the Tunza groups. And these groups will be spaces in which our members will grow not only spiritually, but in every way. So in Tunza groups, members will support one another in the times of bereavement, weddings, graduations, birthdays, holidays, education of the children, etc. But finally, we believe that the call and mandate of the church has never been to sit and relax and feel good. The calling and mandate of the church, as stated in Matthew 28, 19 to 20, is always go. So through our missions component, LCC just last year commissioned our first missionary couple to the unreached people group of Waata of Sombo in Tana River. And that is how come we end up at Judy's house often, whenever we send teams out there. This component of our work will be enhanced right here within the community first through outreach programs to victims of alcohol and drug addiction in our community. By the way, it is not easy. This is one of the toughest communities ever. They say that close to 3/4 of families that start here never end up right. The man disappears first to some unknown place, leaving the mother with 2 or 3 children to care for and to tend for. 2/3. And some of our members are actually that statistic. And it is not right. So when we were setting up that altar, it's not a joke. We are saying no, we are drawing a line, and we are saying it will not happen in our watch. Families will be restored, and the voice of God will be heard in this community again. So we are saying that, and we are working together with the rest of the churches, and it's going to happen, God giving us grace and strength. So we will not watch, we will get involved. So LCC is involved in that, and we just want to thank you for those who have seen the vision with us and are working with us in different ways. So we want to thank you for supporting us. We are grateful for your partnership today, Pastor Ambrose and your team. I don't know what it would be without your support. The money that we got from Paki was almost enough to get us where we are. And Rita will tell you she took off with most of it. But we are so happy that we have space like this. We are going to be getting into the university here. We already are working with Professor Airo, the Vice Chancellor, and the programs that are running at the university, because that's where the problems begin. If you don't reach them when they are that young, they go out there and marry wrong and start work wrong, and things just go wrong the whole way. And we will not sit and do nothing. So with partnerships with people like CPMC who are keen on doing discipleship in the marketplace, we'll be reaching out to those young people. And we know that God is going to honor our work. So thank you so much. Take our love to Paki and tell them their gift touched our heart. And may God bless you. We still have needs as a young church, but don't worry. When we come, give us what you have. We will not say no to it. We will not say no to it. Our prayer is that may all who come behind us find us faithful. May the fire of our devotion light their way. May the footprints that we leave lead them to believe, and the lives we live inspire them to obey. Oh, may all who come behind us find us faithful. I want to invite now Pastor Ambrose to just come and encourage us with the Word of God. He has already done most of what we invited him to do, but I'm sure he has a word of encouragement that he'd like to encourage us with from this new space that we are so excited about. And he will come and also pray for the space. I think Brother already you will guide us from there. Okay? So thank you very much.